budgeting app.
What? How?
Base 44. Look, it pulls all our expenses.
So this right here is version 2.9, or the space release that came out in April of 2008. And as you can see, it gets a whole UI redesign. The dock is different, the wallpaper is different, we have a menu bar now. It uses GNOME as the desktop environment, so you can no longer like left click on the desktop to get to that menu. Right clicking is now just a regular context menu. But the really bizarre thing about this one is you might be able to tell from some of these icons, this is a MySpace-centered release of GOS. So, hey, I guess if you ever thought it would be cool if there was a MySpace-focused operating system, well, there was one. So if you go in here, you've got all these shortcuts to various MySpace pages. You've got MySpace news here under this category. You can see you've got like a Mac OS X stacks thing going on with all of these shortcuts down here now. And you do still have all of the Google stuff in here that we had before. It's just not as prevalent now. But to get to like the whole list, you have to go up in here to applications, internet, and then here's all the rest of the Google stuff. Though you can see most of them do not have icons like they did before. So that's interesting. You do still have your list of games in here. We're slowly adding more and more programs, so there are some things in here you didn't have before. Like now you've got a sound recorder and sound juicer CD extractor and this audio CD creator. You still have OpenOffice, but they have definitely doubled down on making the thing look like Mac OS X. I mean, even this music icon here looks like the iTunes icon. As we open up stuff, like if I go to Firefox here, I mean, this theme is so Mac OS like it's not even funny. I mean, they've really done a good job at mimicking that. If this was even like their theme that they created, it could have just been something that they just downloaded and used. But I mean, like even these scroll bars here look very Aqua. Also, with the switch over to GNOME, they changed the file browser as well over to Nautilus, which is just a much better inclusion. I think that the previous one was kind of lame and, you know, a little bit funky at times just using it. This is a more traditional looking file browser. You got a sidebar. It's a much larger window by default. And you can see here in the dock, there is now a taskbar built into it. So we've got this window here. Since I've got the file browser opened, I can minimize it to the dock, though there's not a maximizing animation. It just comes back up, but there is that little one for minimizing. We can of course maximize the window. We can close it from up here. You've got your like little traffic lights, window controls, though they all just are the same color. Again, I'm just not over how much that this looks like Mac OS X. That's really the look they were going for, I guess. But where it differs is like the menu bar up here is not really a menu bar. I mean, yeah, you can get access to this main menu here, but all of the menus for the different applications you're in are still contained within those windows, so nothing shows up here. And then you do have a system tray up here with your calendar and your volume controls. There's a search function and your network status there. I have not actually gone in to see if there are any different themes in here, so let's see. There are. Okay, so we've got, although some of these just look like regular looking GNOME themes. In fact, yeah, this right here is just the regular Ubuntu theme. So we can change over to that if we want to. And you see that just really changes the design. Although, did it change the trash icon? I think it did. Yes, it did. Okay, so yeah, some of the icons do change. But, you know, this dock here is like its own separate thing. The menu bar up here does not change at all either, except for the system tray, of course. But this is just their GOS theme, which is, although there is, okay, there's two of them. Are these any different? I don't think they are. They look exactly the same. But I just can't get over the MySpace-centered aspect of this. I mean, it's cool, I guess, if you used MySpace a lot and wanted to really, you know, have a system themed around that where you just had easy access to the various, you know, parts of the website. But it just really seems way out of left field considering that they were just really Google focused prior to that. And they became Google focused again after this, because version 3.1, the final release from early 2009, goes back to the way that things were in the earlier two versions, although you can see that gadgets make a reappearance. However, these are now Google gadgets that you could have gotten through Google Desktop, which I made a video on back in like 2020, I think. So there's a lot more that you can choose from. This also utilizes GNOME instead of Enlightenment, so we have your menu bar up here, you have your regular context menu, and the dock has also changed once again. This looks more like it did back in the 2.0 beta version. Another big change is that now when you open up some of these applications, like Gmail, for example, they open up in Mozilla's Prism embedded web browser, which just pretty much displays that one page. So they don't just open up in Firefox's different tabs now. However, some of them still do, like I think YouTube here. Nope, that one does. There was one, was it Blogger? Yeah, Blogger just opens up in Firefox. We also have a proper taskbar up here, so we can get access to the various windows that are opened up. And by this point, Firefox was updated to version 3.0. The theme, again, is very, very Mac-like. I know I'm kind of a broken record with that. And one of the cool things is they added Wine support, so you are now able to run some Windows applications just right out of the box on this thing, which is pretty neat. You got your desktop switcher up here, you have the Nautilus file browser once again, although the main focus of this release was the addition of Google Gadgets. I mean, version 3.0 was literally called the Gadgets release, and then of course 3.1 built on top of that. So you've got, you know, a few of them here just on the desktop by default. You can see most of these don't really load anything anymore. This just, whatever this was, has given us a 404. This weather gadget here doesn't appear to be loading anything. We got this flowers one, which I guess is just more of a, like, cool little thing you can have. Yeah, virtual flower pot, so you can just, like, water your flowers and stuff. You got a calculator, you got a calendar. Up here in the system tray, you can click on this icon to hide and show the gadgets. We can right-click and go to Add to get access to the gadget browser. I'm sure most of these in here, you know, especially if they pulled data from, you know, some server somewhere, probably aren't going to work anymore. Like the weather globe, I think we just... Oh, and we can't even add that back, can we? Can we not add any of these? Even the virtual flower pot, which we already have. Okay, well, there's Google Calendar. So, I think we had this one open before. That's back. Yeah, yes, we did. Okay, so that still works. Google Gadgets Calendar. So, okay, we have two different calendars. It looks like... Okay, we already have the calculator, but we can't add it. Maybe that's because we already have it. But like Wikipedia search we don't have, digital clock we don't have, we can't get that, so it's looking like you can't even really download, and oh yeah, okay, well there's Google Calendar again, so you can open up multiple instances of the same gadget. Yeah, it's not looking like we're going to be able to download any of these, which is rather unfortunate, but not surprising considering that Google Gadgets has not been a thing for many years now. But, you know, if you were using this back then, you would have been able to add as many of those as you wanted, you know, of course, that your CPU resources would allow. I do want to explore some of the menus again. Like, I'm curious about the system preferences. It doesn't seem like there is a dedicated system preferences menu anymore. I mean, well, there is just this list here, but you know how in the early 2 versions we had like a dedicated program where you could go in and view everything. It doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. These are all just separate panels now. That's also the way it was in the MySpace release as well. So you got all your preferences here, you have administration stuff. Now, is this dock the same dock from the 2.0 beta release? I'm not really thinking it is, because I just tried to drag something off of it, and that did not work. Can we right-click? Well, we can do that, whatever you want to call that. So you can't, like, get to a menu from here. Okay, I finally found it. It's the WBAR Conf program that is in Accessories. This is where you can change what's in the dock. So this is totally different from the bar that we had in all of these other releases so far. You can go in here and, like, if you want to get rid of Gmail, we can do that, and you have to hit refresh. And okay, look at that. So hitting refresh, apparently I did not change anything else but removing Gmail. Now we have an outline on the dock. Yeah, look at this, background image. So there was an image before, I guess, that was like making it transparent, because I guess there's no transparent setting, so they just took part of the wallpaper and put it there. So now if we go and change this over, no, never mind.
Why is Slack perfect for IT? Because it helps you flag issues fast.
Okay, so how do we get rid of, maybe if we hit refresh? There we go. Okay, so I guess you have to go in to, like, when you change the wallpaper, you have to go into the dock settings, hit refresh, and then it will get rid of that, like, outline there. But that's interesting that it does that. It kind of, like, takes part of the... Actually, it looks like this is for the magnification, because you can see when I hover over these, nothing goes outside of this box. Even, like, the bar there goes, you can faintly see it, but it goes to the edge. So it like takes part of the desktop and then uses that as like a background image, I guess, to just layer the magnification on top of. So then you would have to go in and hit refresh every single time for it to like redraw that. And we can set the Skype logo as the background image, which is oh yeah, Thunderbird. Let's do that. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, look at that. Oh, and that's straight up the macOS mail icon. It's called Thunderbird.png. So they were straight up taking icon. I mean, I'm pretty sure that looks like it. Why don't we change? Let me change this back to the OS bar pack, and then change the Firefox icon to the Thunderbird one, because now I'm curious. That looked exactly like. Yeah, that's literally the macOS mail icon. They just grabbed that from OS X. That's hilarious. I don't think Apple would be too pleased about that, guys. But hey, they can't really do anything now because this operating system hasn't been a thing for years now. Like I said, this was the final version that came out in January of 2009. And it was around that time when the people behind GOS started work on another operating system called Cloud. Just Cloud, not Cloud OS or anything like that. So they're going with a really simple name here. And the really fascinating thing about this is basically Chrome OS before Chrome OS. I mean, the whole operating system looks to be just a web browser. You have shortcuts down here that I assume are going to open up just other websites. There is this boot to Windows icon, and you have your power controls over here. And it said it was optimized for netbooks. And this was in January of 2009. That is before Google announced Chrome OS, which happened in July. And this appears to be the last thing that this company did, at least on their website, because this is the final snapshot that I was able to grab from the Wayback Machine on October 1st, 2010 that still loads anything. After that, you just get this site temporarily unavailable error. And today, if you go to thinkgos.com, you just get a 404. Now, I think I already know the answer to this question, but if you guys would like to see a video about Cloud, assuming that I can find any ISO images of it, be sure to let me know, because I've not looked into this any further than just this like kind of surface level stuff here for this video, because it was kind of beyond the scope of what I wanted to do. But it looks like there was a laptop that sold with this, and I'm assuming Windows as well, because I mean the fact that you have this boot to Windows option, it kind of makes me think this was going to be something like Phoenix Hyperspace, which Cathode Radio did a video on a while back. Those like pre-boot operating systems. There was one that I vividly remember using. I think it was from HP, and it came on a HP laptop that my family had at the time. And it was, yeah, this like little, miniature OS that you could boot into before Windows loaded. So if that's what they were trying to do here, that would be pretty cool. Wow, this right here certainly doesn't look like a good sign. It says currently pre-installed on specific hardware only. So I'll have to look and see if I can find this, or hey, if anybody watching happens to have some more information about this, be sure to let me know, because I'm definitely interested. But that is pretty much going to wrap it up today. That is a run through of GOS, the Google-centered operating system, not actually made by Google. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.
To be honest, I actually have no idea what's going on until I open my app. Boom.
Well, if you can believe it, Windows 95 is already 30 years old. It was on this exact day, well, the day of upload anyways, back in 1995 when a whole bunch of people got together in Redmond to attend what probably still is the most over-the-top software launch event ever held. This thing was insane, and it was made very obvious how excited that Microsoft was about the launch of their next OS release. And one of the ways they celebrated was by giving away a copy of Windows 95 to some of the people in attendance that day. But it wasn't any ordinary copy you could find on store shelves. This right here is the special edition copy of Windows 95 that is easily one of the rarest things I have in my collection. And yes, it's still sealed, and today seems like an appropriate time to change that. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So I'm going to get this out of the way right here in the beginning. The copy of Windows 95 in here is in no way different from a retail copy, except for the fact that of course it comes in its own really exclusive, nice looking packaging that is entirely different from what you would find on a store shelf. So here it is next to the upgrade copy. I'll go ahead and flip it around here. There is an upgrade copy of Windows 95 in here, by the way. They did not give you the full release. And at the end of the day, even though it would have been nice to maybe have some custom theme or an additional program bundled in here, you did get this thing for free, so you can't really complain, right? Now, as for how rare this thing is, it's honestly a bit hard to tell because there's not an official number of how many of these things were produced. The only number I found was on a blog from a guy named Kevin who listed 3,000. I also found a post from Raymond Chen, who writes Microsoft's The Old New Thing dev blog, which said that the special edition copy was also given out at various other marketing events. They also might have come with a t-shirt if this eBay listing is to be believed. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those, as you can see, but regardless, I mean, this thing is pretty rare, and like I said, I have yet to see somebody open it up on video, so we're going to change that. I think we'll just start by cutting it down here in the bottom and make a little cut in the film there. And let's just peel it back and see what we got. And by the way, I know I am pretty heavily devaluing this thing by cracking it open, but I mean, come on guys, it's the 30th anniversary. That only comes, you know, one time ever. So here it is, the Windows 95 Special Edition. It looks like you do have to pull this here on the bottom, and that is Velcro, okay. So that explains why it's a little bit deformed there just from like resting on that all these years in that shrink wrap. So you open this up and you get this nice little mess from Microsoft. More power, more freedom, more fun. That's what Windows 95 brings to millions of people everywhere. Please accept this special gift edition with our compliments and discover the world of Windows 95. And yeah, okay. So we're going to go ahead and take this out here. And yeah, if I had to guess, this cardboard box is probably like exactly the same, you know, package that would have just gone into a retail copy. But, you know, I could certainly be wrong. If you've got nothing else in there, I'm going to carefully close this back up and we will set it aside for now. Oh, and I guess I can just show you the back here really quickly. You got the Microsoft logo and their slogan from the time. On the right spine, you have your system requirements, and then on the other side, you've got your, like, you know, genuine sticker, like proof of realness there. So we'll go ahead and set that aside, and let's see what we've got. Like I said, my guess is just going to be your standard stuff, which it kind of looks like it is. So you've got your upgrade copy of Windows 95. You've got your registration card for US and Canadian residents. The address of the most important person, a Microsoft variant. They did change this a few times. I have to count like how many of these I have now. I've got like so many of them. And then you have your introducing Windows 95 instruction manual / getting started guide thing. So yeah, I mean, that is where the exclusivity ends for this item. But you know, this video has got to be like 20 minutes long or something. So yes, we are going to be installing Windows 95 on one of my computers because it just seems fitting, right? So let's go ahead and pop this in and get this OS installed and mess around with it for a little bit. right after a quick word from today's sponsor, Proton Pass. I'm sure all of us have a ridiculous amount of passwords these days, and keeping track of them is one of the most frustrating things ever. You forget, you have to reset, then you find out you haven't used the recovery email address in 5 years and can't remember the login for that either. Proton Pass makes that a thing of the past. It generates unique, secure passwords for each of your logins and stores them all in an encrypted vault that only you have access to, with the last password you'll ever need to memorize. And it also makes signing into your accounts an absolute breeze. Just click on the login field, choose the account you want to log in with, and you're good to go. They've got apps for all of the major browsers and mobile platforms, ensuring that no matter where you are, you'll never lose access to your accounts and passwords. And their Pass Plus plan, which you can get for 60% off at proton.me/michaelmjd, comes with some nice extras like unlimited email aliases so you can hide your real address, integrated two-factor authentication, dark web monitoring, and the ability to have up to 50 individual vaults so you can organize your passwords as you please. Proton Pass is both end-to-end encrypted and open source, so be sure to click the link below to save on your first year, and huge thanks again to Proton for making this video possible. You know, I realized something when I was setting up the computer here. This may actually be a first for me because this is a launch copy of Windows 95. I mean, duh, right? But I don't think I've ever installed this one before. Typically, the copies of 95 that I've installed on this channel are like OEM copies that would have come with a computer, and this one that I have in box is one of the later releases where they started bundling Internet Explorer with it. This did not happen in the original version. In fact, you had to buy Microsoft Plus to get access to Internet Explorer, which we probably are going to install this a little bit later on in the video because this was released alongside 95 on August 24th. So yeah, the computer that we are using today is the 90s mystery PC that has shown up on this channel a handful of times. This is actually a Cyrix 6x86 computer, and yeah, it was sent to me by a viewer a couple years back, and when I got it, it ran Windows 98, but a lot of the files on it had, you know, dates in the early 90s, so I think this system had been in use for a while at the time when it had 98 installed on it. But we're going to be installing 95 on it today, so I've already went ahead and configured the hard drive here. We have a DOS partition on it. So we're going to pop in the Windows 95 upgrade CD and get this show on the road. And you might be saying, wait a second, Michael, how on earth is that going to be possible with this thing not having an operating system on it? Well, I'll show you. Let's go ahead and swap over to the R drive, and actually the first thing we're going to do before I forget, because I do suspect this being an issue at some point, we're going to make a Win95 folder on the C drive, go over to the R drive, go into the Win95 directory, and then do a copy star.star c:/win95. Oh, and look at that, we're off to a fantastic start. I'm guessing it was just still reading from the drive, maybe? Yeah, because I had like just put the disk in. Let's try that again and hope that that was just a fluke. Win95, there we go. Doing this, there's a point in the setup where after you install the operating system, directory, and then do a copy star.star c:/win95. Oh, and look at that, we're off to a fantastic start. I'm guessing it was just still reading from the drive, maybe? Yeah, because I had like just put the disk in. Let's try that again and hope that that was just a fluke. Win95, there we go. That's a lot better. If you don't know why I'm doing this, there's a point in the setup where after you install the operating system, Windows asks you to put the CD back in the drive, but it doesn't always recognize the disk drive at that point. In fact, in my experience, at least with the systems that I've installed 95 on, it happens more often than not. So copying all this stuff to the hard drive allows you just to change. You guys probably already know this. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because I don't want to rehash like everything, you know, that I always say in like a video about Windows 95. But I'm probably going to rehash a lot of things that I say in a video about Windows 95. But anyways, here we are at the initial setup, so we're going to click on continue and have it do its preparations. And this right here is where it tries to do the upgrade check. Now, admittedly, I did not know about this until recently, but this is something that makes the Windows 95 installer pretty cool. You don't actually need to have a copy of Windows 3.1 or 3.11 on your hard drive to install the upgrade copy. You can verify that you own it by popping in a setup diskette for, well, in this case, Windows 3.11. So we're going to click on continue. It's going to fail to find Windows on the hard drive, so we're going to press locate, and I'm going to swap the diskette out here. And then we'll change over to the A drive, press OK, and there we go. We're going through the setup wizard. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. We're going to go with a custom setup and put in our name here. For the product key, we can just do the classic you know, key algorithm like crack here, which I always shout out Flytek's video about this because that was just so interesting when I first watched that. A very, very cool video going over the Windows 95 key algorithm and how that is a valid product key. But I've got an original copy with a real valid key on the back here if Microsoft really still cares about that. But anyways, we are definitely, actually, do we want to let's just go through with recommended first. All this hardware is, I mean, pretty close to like the time that Windows 95 would have been released, so I think that we'll be fine. I've just had a few times where, like, if I put this on the Windows 98 PC, for instance, I currently have a GPU in there from 2003. It does not like going through this analyzing process with that in it. It just hangs at some point. So we're going to say we have a network adapter and a sound MIDI or video capture card. Actually, do we have a network adapter? No, we don't. I pulled that out of here, so we're just going to uncheck that, and let's see if it doesn't freeze up. It's usually about 80-something% is where it starts to experience problems. I just like to move the mouse around here in circles, and then if it freezes up, then I know the system is just hung. Now, sometimes it will recover. So, you know, it's not necessarily always going to require us to do a restart, but let's see here. We made it to 90. That's a good sign. And the hard drive is clacking away. I'm sure you can't hear that at all, but this is all looking good so far. I'm hoping that, I mean, the graphics card that I have in here is an old Trident card. I'm hoping that Windows 95 is able to recognize that and install like a proper driver for it. All right, get connected. So do we want to grab, I mean, what the heck? Why don't we grab the Microsoft Network, mail, and fax? I mean, we have plenty of space on this hard drive, and we're just going to grab all the components here. So we'll grab all the accessories, communications, disk tools, Exchange, fax, multimedia, Microsoft Network. And yeah, alrighty. Network configuration comes up, not really anything we're going to worry too much about. We'll just leave all of this as, well actually, what do we want to name the computer? Let's call it 30th, yeah, because that sounds really original. The Windows 95 30th anniversary celebration. Is that too long? No, it's not. Cool. Work group, yeah, we'll just leave it as work group, why not? That's the one thing that I never change. And look at that, it's found Trident Super VGA, perfect. So we have the proper display adapter, great. And I don't think did it find an audio device? It doesn't look like it. We might have to revisit that. But yeah, all this looks good. Let's go ahead and hit next. We do not need a startup disk. Let's have it copy files. I just want to point out here, I know this video may seem a little bit repetitive because we've installed Windows 95 a lot on this channel, but I mean, this is the 30th anniversary. Like, I wanted to do something. This seemed pretty appropriate. I bought this special edition copy. We have some 90s era hardware here to mess around with. So it just seemed kind of like the perfect time to really, you know, revisit this operating system because it's been a little bit since I've taken a look at this personally. And Windows 95 was just such an instrumental release of Windows. I mean, I feel like 3.1 was really when Windows started to become popular and like a real operating system, even though it wasn't technically an operating system at that point. But 95 just took it to the next level. And heck, I mean, the taskbar and the start menu and all that stuff still carry over to Windows today, except for that little brief period during Windows 8, but, you know, we don't like to talk about that. But yeah, basically, we're going to go and kind of explore the operating system a little bit. We're going to install at least Microsoft Plus, maybe a couple other things, and just, you know, have some fun and just celebrate the fact that this operating system has been around for 30 years, which is just kind of crazy to say. So we're almost done here. Looks like we are at 99%, right about to get to 100. There we go. And then it's going to ask us to restart our system and ask us to eject the floppy disk. So we will do just that. Oh yeah, and we get that first boot screen that I love. Yeah, this right here. I mean, I don't know what it is about this. It just looks really, really cool. And especially the fact that you only got to see it one time when you first installed it is just, you know, it kind of makes it special. Here's the point where, let's see if it recognizes the disk drive at this point. My guess is no.
You've been promised things with AI. Has it actually lived up to all the hype?
Oh, wait, it did? Holy, what? That might be the first time I've ever had that happen. All right, we'll leave it in Pacific time. That you only got to see it one time when you first installed it is just, you know, it kind of makes it special. Here's the point where, let's see if it recognizes the disk drive at this point. My guess is no. Oh, wait, it did? Holy, what? That might be the first time I've ever had that happen. All right, we'll leave it in Pacific time. And, oh yeah, we got to configure Microsoft Exchange, which, well, I don't think we have to. We can probably just quit out of this, but I'm not going to set up a mail account on here. And the printer, no, we don't want to bother with that. And setup as configured, finish configuring your system, you must restart. All right. And there is the real boot screen that is definitely better than the first boot one visually, but I mean, I still think I like the first boot one just a little bit better. So, it looks like we don't have a good video mode. What do we have going on here? Oh, okay, so we can change this. We want to switch to 256 color. Let's do 800 by 600. Will that actually work? Oh, we have to specify a monitor. We'll just say Super VGA 800 by 600. And would you look at that? We've got a much better video signal coming out of this thing. I guess we can go in here and just show you, I mean, like I said before, this is just your standard release of 95, so there's nothing special in here. You got all your standard accessories, nothing, you know, additional in these folders at all. I guess we can open up my computer and go into Device Manager, although if you were curious, here's what the System Properties info looks like. We've got our Trident Super VGA display adapter. I'm not seeing anything for sound. Is that under other devices? We've got a PCI VGA compatible display adapter showing up in there. We do have a dial-up adapter under network. Okay. Yeah, I may have to look at this because I would like to see if we could get sound working. That would be nice. Alright, well after much troubleshooting and the ultimate failure of trying to get a network card and a sound card working in this system, mainly because, at least I would suspect, the only cards I have are a lot newer than Windows 95, and so, you know, the drivers that I found for them, even though some of them say they work with Windows 95, most likely require a newer operating system version than the original, you know, retail one that came out on August 24th. So, yeah, and I don't want to upgrade to a newer release because I want to explore, you know, this original version in this video. But hey, we got display working, and this kind of adds to the true Windows 95 experience of, you know, stuff not working right out of the box. Now, to give Microsoft credit here, Plug and Play, which was introduced with Windows 95 and something that we take for granted on Windows today, was a huge feature when it launched, and it made installing devices on your system much easier when it worked, because it didn't always work, and if you had an older system running Windows 3.1 trying to upgrade to 95, you very well may have run into problems getting some of your hardware devices to work properly. Now, in this case, like I said, all the stuff I have is just newer, so, you know, it's kind of expected that we're not really going to get all of that working properly. But regardless, we're going to move on to taking a look at Microsoft Plus. I wanted to fit this in here since this was the companion product for 95 that was released alongside it, and this included Internet Explorer. So if you were interested in trying out the web, this was a way that you could have done that and, you know, get further and further into Microsoft's ecosystem. And we are done with that, and Plus knows exactly what I want to do because it's going to open the desktop themes window so that we can choose a theme here. And you know which one I'm going with. Inside your computer, I've said this many times, this is my favorite Windows theme, hands down. Even still, like, take all the Windows versions. This is my favorite theme. I think it is so freaking cool. Check that out. Doesn't that just look incredible? So yeah, we got Plus installed, which brings Internet Explorer to the system, which we're not going to really be able to, you know, use this because we don't have a proper network adapter installed. So service provider name. We do not have a drop-down. We're going to say AOL because I'm sure you guys have heard the news, but AOL dial-up is going away in September. And yes, there will be a video about that, so stay tuned. Phone number, we'll just put in some random one here. And username and password, sure. And yeah, automatically assigns me one. Cool. Not going to bother specifying a DNS server. Do not use internet mail. I just want to take a look at the browser for like 2 seconds. Got to go through this whole setup. And this is version 4.4 of Internet Explorer, for those wondering. Definitely pretty primitive looking compared to how it looked in later releases, but it got the job done, and because IE eventually came bundled with later versions of Windows 95 and, you know, versions of Windows after that, it's the browser that most people started to use and, you know, experience the web with. So, yeah, that is Plus installed. That is applying a theme. There is a lot more stuff that Plus does to the system that we could take a look at, but I already did a video on that if you want to check that out here. And I think we're kind of getting to a wrapping up point. I know this video maybe is not the most exciting thing because we've done a lot of this stuff before, but you know, I just wanted, like I said, to do something for Windows 95's 30th anniversary. Though there is one more thing that I want to do. I feel it's also kind of appropriate to acknowledge the developers that worked on Windows 95, and Microsoft included a really cool Easter egg, and it's my personal favorite Windows Easter egg that highlights the names of everybody on the product team, and they have a pretty clever way to access it. It's done by making a folder on your desktop and naming it 3 separate things. The first is, and now, comma, the moment you've all been waiting for. Press enter, and then rename it again to we proudly present for your viewing pleasure. And then, finally, the Microsoft Windows 95 product team with an exclamation point at the end. And now, when you open this folder, it will launch into a nice animated movie that just lists all of the names of the people that worked on Windows 95, which I think is pretty awesome. And it definitely ties into, you know, what Easter eggs were kind of used for to begin with. They were originally used in video games where the individual developers didn't get credit for any of their work, unfortunately, to, you know, have a way to acknowledge themselves in their own games. So yeah, here's all the people that worked on Windows 95, and we're just going to kind of let this play out for the outro here. That is pretty much going to wrap it up for a little Windows 95 30th anniversary celebration. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.
I just built a budgeting app.
We can.
At this point, I'm sure everybody's aware with what the auto
Title.wma, better known as the Windows XP welcome music, is iconic. It's a song that I'm sure most of us have heard before, though you probably didn't pay much attention to it when you were setting up your new XP computer those many years ago, especially if you didn't have the sound driver set up properly. But hearing just the first few seconds of it today can fill one with an immense sense of nostalgia. Memories of the early 2000s, the excitement, or at least a sense of curiosity that you felt when you finally got your new computer all set up, or just finished upgrading to XP. Memories of a simpler time, and for some, your childhood. But it also represents a new era for the Windows operating system. One that was filled with new possibilities, a fresh new user interface, a more stable file system, a Windows that seemed more personal and intuitive. The sky was literally the limit for Windows XP, and even 7 years after its end of support, it refuses to completely die off, and it remains one of the most critically acclaimed computer operating systems of all time. Look, I know what some of you are thinking. Really? A whole video about a 5-minute song that most people probably didn't even listen to entirely? But there's a lot more to this seemingly simple piece of music than you might think. Even if you know the song's name, and know that it played during the final portion of Windows XP's installation, you probably don't know its complete origin story. Because Windows XP was far from the first time this song was ever used. In fact, it was composed when XP didn't exist, even in development build form. That's because this piece of music is 25 years old, and for most of that time, the identity of the song's creator wasn't fully known. It remained a sort of internet mystery for many years. Countless forum threads and blog posts tried to figure out where the song came from and who was behind it. It's a mystery that wasn't completely solved until years after Windows XP's release. So, who's the person, or people, behind this iconic track? What was it initially created for? And how did it find its way into Windows XP? Let's find out. I'm Michael MJD, and this is the full story of Title.wma. We're going to start off by booting up Windows XP. I know I just said that it wasn't the first time the song was used, but it's easily the most popular usage of it, and is what most people think of when they hear the song. Windows XP was released in the fall of 2001, and it marked a drastic shift in Microsoft's product strategy by combining the consumer and professional releases of Windows into a single release with different editions. Microsoft implemented many new user interface elements that were designed to make Windows XP more welcoming to home users. A perfect example of this is the welcome screen, the UI to switch between user accounts that was used by default in the home release of XP. But Microsoft even made some changes to the installation process, redesigning it to fit in better with XP's design language. But the third and final portion of the setup is what we're going to focus on. It's known as the out-of-box experience, or OOBE. It's where you configure automatic updates, register your copy of Windows, and create user accounts for the first time. XP's predecessor, Windows Me, also included an out-of-box experience that had similar functionality. Microsoft could have just redesigned this interface for XP and left it at that, but they went the extra mile and included a piece of background music that would play as you were going through the setup. And it was a nice touch, for the people that could actually hear it. Because if you didn't have your sound drivers configured properly, or just didn't have a set of speakers plugged in, you weren't going to be able to even tell that there was background music. Of course, people discovered the inclusion of the music one way or another. The song was uploaded to YouTube as early as April of 2007, and some users created tutorials showing you where the file was located on your system. It's stored in C Windows System 32 OOBE images, and the name of the file is title.wma. It's 2.5 megabytes in size and has a runtime of almost 5.5 minutes. But there's no metadata that identifies the name of the author, year of creation, or the official title. The artist is simply listed as Microsoft and the title as Windows Welcome Music. But as we'll discuss later on, this isn't the original name of the song. The nature of this storage location, and the fact that some users never got the chance to hear the music during the out-of-box experience, led many to refer to the song as the Hidden Windows XP music, or the Hidden Windows song, even though it wasn't ever hidden in the first place.
I want to be rich.
Wishing for more money? All you need is your phone. No. Right now we're looking at Evil Homer's desktop, and he says that he wants to show us some hidden music inside of Windows XP. OOBE folder? Gotcha. Well, it's not exactly hidden music, it's just where you can find it. This is the XP setup music.
Due to the popularity and high usage share of Windows XP, the song gradually came to be known as the Windows XP welcome music, or by its file name, title.wma. But despite what some old forum posts and wikis might tell you, it wasn't created for and used exclusively in Windows XP. So when did it make its first appearance? That would be a whole 5 years prior, in the 1996 release of Microsoft's Internet Explorer Starter Kit. Yeah, I bet you didn't see that one coming. I did a video on this in late 2020 if you want to hear more about it. But to give you the gist of it, this kit contains all sorts of information about Internet Explorer and the World Wide Web. How it worked, what you needed to get online, it even defines some web terminology. It was designed for users who knew very little or perhaps nothing about the web, and what we know as Windows XP's welcome music plays in the background as you're exploring the program. And yes, this was the very first time this song was used, but it's not the only place that it made an appearance before Windows XP. If we travel a couple of years into the future to 1998, we'll see another implementation of it in that year's release of Microsoft Encarta Virtual Globe. When you think of Encarta, you probably think of the encyclopedia. However, the name was used in a couple of other products like Encarta Dictionary and Encarta World Atlas. Virtual Globe is a rebranding of World Atlas and includes, well, a World Atlas. You can view the Earth, search for a specific place, there's even a game included called Name That Place. The mode we're interested in is the World Flight. You've got a list of places to choose from, and when you select one, the program will launch into a flyover interface, and the music that plays in the background will sound pretty familiar to you. It's not a one-to-one copy of the original song, but the first couple of seconds bear a very close resemblance to it. The identity of title.wma's creator was mistaken for many years. Even today, if you Google who created the Windows XP welcome music, you'll get the wrong name. Bill Brown is one of the two names that you'll see very frequently in old forum threads where somebody asked who the name of the creator is, and it's easy to see why. Bill Brown actually composed music for Windows XP. He's the guy behind both the tour theme and the startup and shutdown sounds. This is likely why his name comes up if you search for the creator of the welcome music. XP's startup sound has been referred to as the welcome sound before. I mean, it literally says welcome as the sound plays, so it could be that whoever answered this Quora post thought that the asker meant the welcome sound instead of the welcome music. And it's not that far-fetched to assume that the guy behind most of Windows XP's music also composed title.wma. But this isn't true. Keep in mind that the song was composed years before XP was even a thing. The other supposed creator of the song is Brian Eno. He also worked with Microsoft in the past and composed Windows 95's startup sound. Its official name is the Microsoft Sound, and it's just as, or arguably more iconic than XP's welcome music. It's a track that was heard by millions of people every day, every time they logged into Windows 95. Pretty ironic for a sound that was created on a Macintosh computer. Yeah, in a 2011 interview, Brian was asked if he composed the song on a PC, and he replied, "No, I wrote it on a Mac. I've never used a PC in my life. I don't like them." However, Brian Eno didn't work on Windows XP's music at all, and the theory of him being the man behind Tidal.wma seems to be based on the simple fact that he worked with Microsoft before